All right, everyone. My guest is not here yet. As soon as Birch comes in, we'll put him up. The show must go on, and hopefully everything is all right. Life happens. Hopefully, car didn't break down. Hopefully he's all right. But the show must go on, and when he gets here, I'll bring him up. We'll talk to him. So, what I was going to talk to him about is when did you discover the music that made you fall in love with a certain genre? Now, even though I know this channel is called Hair Metal Revolution, it doesn't mean you have to like hard rock, metal, and all that. I'm talking about, that genre of music that once you heard it, you knew it was for you, right? When was it? And I know a lot of it depends on your age, where you live, myself, right? So I'll start with me. And when Birch comes in, I'll bring him up. So, all right, got some good friends here. He's a great friend of the channel. Chris, he's a member of the channel. Love him. Keith is here. JB Smith is here. I appreciate it. I never done a live show on a Sunday. So, hey, if this works out where people show up on a Sunday, I don't mind. I'm doing it. So where were you? See, I grew up in a town called Kerman outside of Fresno, California. So where I lived in the part of California, we didn't have alternative radio stations. We didn't really have tons of rock stations. So it's not like you heard harder rock music on the radio. It was top 40. Again, I don't want anybody to take my words like I'm bashing some bands, because I'm not. But the radio at the time played, most rock is more like they played Bruce Springsteen, Bryan Adams, John Cougar Mellencamp in the 80s. Mellencamp, Dire Straits, Genesis, so that's what the radio played. And nothing against those bands, right? But, when I heard the Police on the radio, I just wasn't didn't hate it. I respect those bands, but it just wasn't enough for me, right? And don't quote me on this. I always call that kind of music safe rock, right? I call it safe rock. It's radio could play it. It's safe. Mother, fathers, kids, children, uncles, aunts, they can all listen to it somewhat. So I call it safe rock, right? So music on a harder edge during my time had to be word of mouth, right? Corporate rock. Yeah. I can see that. What corporations? Yeah, because corporate rock, I know you're not making fun of it. You're talking about how corporate wants to make money. So to make money, they play safe rock that everybody can listen to. So everything had to be word of mouth, right? See, I was 10 years old in 1983 when I discovered hard rock. Oh my God, this is it. Okay. It was 1983, when a lot of people, I know when you ask a lot of musicians what bands inspire them, and you always hear the same bands, right? You always hear, the Beatles. I mean, the Beatles, and don't get me wrong, the Beatles are a good band, but, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, that's usually the bands you always hear that influences everybody. And it's always kind of a shock when somebody goes, Eric, who influenced you? I go, oh, who influenced me? Mötley Crüe, Def Leppard, Ozzy Osbourne. Oh, you mean Ozzy and Black Sabbath? No, Ozzy Osbourne solo. Because when I discovered Ozzy, I didn't know about Black Sabbath yet. I was 10 years old in 1983 when I discovered it. And people are like, what about Led Zeppelin? Yeah, they're good. The Beatles, they're good. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you, hey, that's a cool thing to say, right? That makes you sound intelligent, oh, the Beatles and stuff. That just wasn't my age. They didn't move me. I grew up where, like I said, there wasn't like radio. My father had 8 tracks. My father loved CCR, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Leonard Skinner, Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson. So that's kind of music that I listened to growing up, because that's what my father listened to, right? That's what I heard with his records and stuff, you know, and then radio was playing like the new wave of British bands, right? The new wave, and and I agree with you. Pink Floyd was there. I didn't really knew about Pink Floyd until I saw the movie The Wall. Pink Floyd, The Wall. But that's another one where if you don't say they influence you, people kind of look at you like you're kind of nuts, right? They do. They do, and listen to CCR, and Johnny Cash, and where, Johnny Cash was like the original punk rocker, right? Against the system. So, and so when I listen to the radio and you heard, no offense to Bruce Springsteen, no offense to Dire Straits and them, they were clean. It wasn't for me, right? So in 1983, I was the youngest of 2 bigger brothers. So they had a lot of friends, right? And I agree, Hair Basement, that is a perfect comment. Every generation has their own music. For us, it was hair metal. For metal guys, it was Kiss, Van Halen, Aerosmith. Exactly right. Because this one, I was 10 years old in 1983 when I first discovered, like, holy shit, what is this? Right? Because my brother had bigger friends, right? They had all these cassettes, right? I remember to this day what those cassettes were, right? I saw, wow, there was like, I saw Ozzy Osbourne, Blizzard of Oz, Mötley Crüe, Shout the Devil just came out. Paramania just came out, came out that year. I don't know exactly what month those albums came out. And I remember they had a boombox, and I remember putting on Paramania, Def Leppard, right? Because I didn't know who these bands were. Like who the hell are these bands? The only hardest kind of a rock band that I kind of knew was Kiss, because everybody watched Kiss Phantom of the Opera. Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park. Phantom of the Opera. Phantom of the Park. I enjoyed that movie. I actually got a bootleg copy of that movie. I enjoy it. So, and I remember putting on Def Leppard, right? I remember the very first song, Rock Till You Drop. How that dun, 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 and then a fucking guitar riff. Just get it. Kind of reminding me of like Chuck Berry, Johnny Be Good, where that guitar riff, and when I heard that riff and the way Joe Elliott came out and sing on that song, I was like, holy shit, this is it. This is the speed I was looking for. This was the speed, right? I mean, it was just like, your mind just like, what is this? Of course I heard, Photograph, and I heard just like the Phantom of the Opera. I I apologize. You guys know, back before AI, I did some cartoons, 2D animation of a series about me and a guy going on a series, and I was like episode 8. I did like a sequel to the Kiss Phantom of the Park. I made it like a sequel where forgot the evil guy's name, came back and he was trying to destroy everybody, and my team had to go meet Kiss and had to go defeat him. I actually made an animation cartoon on it. Here, let me see if I can find it for a second. You guys might get a kick out of this. Here, give me a second. Let me see here. Let me see here. Where is it? Okay. I'm trying to find. Is it here? My cartoon. Oh, here it is. You guys might get a little kick out of this. All right. I actually made a cartoon series, a 2D animation. And so again, you guys might get a kick out of this. You guys might not, And so, okay. So like, okay. So here in the beginning, we had to defeat werewolves, and the guy in the cowboy hat and the tie, that was me, because I did other channel. I used to wear a red tie. It was like a trademark of my channel. I cut a cowboy hat, and then we're driving Star Wars bikes here, and then we go meet Kiss right here. This is just for fun, guys. This is for fun.
All right, everywhere around the world we try to tell people there are no borders, there are no prime ministers, there are no presidents. There's only one nation, that's Kiss Nation. There's only one rock and roll national anthem. Rock and roll on that party every day.
Never. So we made it like cartoon, and then we go. Like I said,
now I've seen everything.
Your music is the devil's music.
This is a walk in the park. Give them some love gun. God gave rock and roll to you.
So that was fun. I made that. It's part of the episode. So you can see how Kiss and the stuff influenced myself. It was all for fun. All that. And somebody got pissed off at me because I had the drummer, Peter, hit a guitar to kill the robot. I was like, come on, guys, stop being petty. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So again, like 83, and I listened to Blizzard of Oz, right? Crazy Train for the first time. I don't know, and then, oh my God, if you're 10 years old, guys, you're a kid. You put on Mötley Crüe, shout out to Devil. I don't care who the fuck you are. You think that is the coolest shit ever. The coolest music ever. You right? Not bad. Hey, listen, I was having fun, I remember like Kiss being in the cartoon Scooby-Doo and stuff. So, my adventure, I go through everywhere. I even went to a Mandela Effect planet. It's still so it still is. So when I got, I listened to this music and it was just wonderful. I mean, I just like, where's this music been? Because it was never on the radio. Right? And so everything was word of mouth, right? And I still remember to this day, somebody had like Kiss, Lick It Up. And I remember Kiss with the makeup because of the Phantom movie. Like, who's this? This Kiss? And then I didn't, again, I wasn't listening to Kiss, back albums. I only knew what I saw in that movie. And then like, no makeup? I thought they had makeup, right? And I learned. And a lot of you will know this if you're my age. Not everybody had cable TV. Cable TV streaming service, it wasn't something that it was available. And guys, before I continue, I apologize. I don't know where my guest is. I'm hoping that everything is all right with them. You know what I mean? I mean, life happens. Life does happen, and I hope everything's all right with them. And, I sent them an email, make sure everything's all right. I haven't got a response, so I'm just hoping that everything is cool, everything is all right. And, I can always schedule another live show with him. I'll change the title of this in case some of you just came over just to see a flickering box. Sacramento didn't get cable until 1985. Yeah, so when everybody heard of this MTV thing, right? Where you get in this Headbangers Ball, but none of us had cable. I hate to say this, but we were deep shit poor. I'm serious. We lived in an apartment complex that was designed for people working in the fields. I mean, that's just the way it was. So we couldn't afford no cable TV. It was like that's what the rich kids had. The poor kids didn't have that. My father got us a VHS player, and then one day one of our friends came over with a cassette. He put Headbangers. He recorded it at midnight, and Birch canceled Friday's show. His wife was sick, taking care of her. Hope all is well. Oh man, see, that's what I mean. Life happens, right? Life happens, and that's what I mean. Because anybody who knows Birch knows that channel. He's a great guy. He's such an honest, cool guy. And he had to take down so many videos because he keep on getting hit. Because he used to have like co-host where he'll play music, right? Like a lot of us wish we could play music now, but we kind of can't. And then he would have like a younger person, like, what are their thoughts? And they would have this conversation about the band. It was kind of cool, right? Because he lived it, she didn't. And there was a great conversation. We had to take all those videos down because he kept getting hit with strikes or takedowns. I mean, it was horrible, you know? It's like you got to be careful on what you play. It's like now I almost don't play any music. If I'm playing any music, it's because I had it created by AI because it's the only thing that's safe, right? Doesn't that suck? I mean, we're here to not sponsor. Yeah, we're sponsoring the music that we love, getting it out there, letting the new generation to hear it so people can stream it and listen to it. We help that music to grow, right? Grow. And it really is because, and I can't wait to physically get to talk to you online on Tuesday. I can't wait for that. Because here, let me go to here for a second. Here. I'm trying to go here for a second. So like share screen. When in my early days of the channel, right? I had like I would dissect Rat Dancing on the Cover album, and of course like copyrights and all that. And then here it's still on here. I take it off, but I dissect like the whole album of Cinderella Still Climbing. I try to dissect albums that I call the hidden gem that a lot of people never truly gave it a chance. You know, one of my favorite ones I dissected, Poison Native Tongue, the whole album. Of course, you can see like copyright. They allow me to show it, but what's dangerous is what I'm trying to get at. What's dangerous is some of these places, they will strike you if they want to. They will strike your channel if they want. So, I actually I got one strike on my channel, and it wasn't from a music studio. It's from another YouTube channel that I don't know if they're trying to be gatekeepers or not, but it is what it is. So you always gotta be careful. You always gotta be careful. Man, I almost forgot what I was saying. I'm sorry. I go all over the place. I love this stuff. So okay. Oh yeah, right. Like Headbangers Ball, right? So you put on Headbangers Ball, on cassette. It was like the first time. It was like there are always to do with strike, but it's touchy. Yeah. Oh, I'm an expert on that. And again, listen, like if I put on some music, right, and if that company says, we want the monetize money from it, or how they could collect the money from the commercials ad, which I don't get none of it. That's fine. That, what? Listen, I'm not here to make money. I'm doing this for fun. I'm not here to make a living off of this. I just kind of retired, and this is what I love doing. So I'm doing this for absolutely free. In fact, I lose money doing this show. I lose money because of StreamYard. You got to pay for this, pay for that. So I'm in the negative, and that's fine because we're talking about the music that we love, right? That we love and all that. And if you guys don't know, eventually after Tuesday, Hair Metal Basement and we're going to do a top 5 blues rock type of show. We're going to pick our top 5 rock that's kind of mixed with blues. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. And I already kind of picked my top 5. Like I had a hard time, like, do I want to go in this direction, this direction, this direction? It's always fun. So when I put on Headbangers Ball, and that's when I got to saw what the bands look like. And I get so excited. I just get excited because when you see these bands for the first time and you feel like you're home. You feel like you're home, right? Now, here we go. Here's this. This is what one of the things I learned about concerts. So again, guys, I apologize for Birch not being here. Like you saw, Keith said, the wife got sick. Understandable. That happens. No problem. Usually when that happens, I don't reschedule the show. I'll just do a show. I'll retitle the show, and then I'll just retitle it back when the Flickering Box when he, when everything's A+. We all got to support each other. All music channels got to support each other because it's going to take all of us to keep the music alive. 1986. I was 13 years old. Now, again, living in Fresno, California, people, even though it's California, a lot of bands don't come to Fresno. A lot of bands don't. And there's one of the bands that I fell in love with was Rat. I fell in love with Rat. Oh my God, the fucking voice, the riffs. I mean, it was beautiful, right? It was beautiful. So Rat Dancing on the Cover Tour, 1986, Fresno, California. They had an opening act called Poison. This is where I learned a lot because at the time, right? At the time, now I was going for Rat. I didn't really know Poison yet. They're brand new, right? And with this Headbangers Ball, there was a Poison video. It was Cry Tough. And this is no offense against Poison. When I saw Cry Tough, I'm like, Cry Tough, it's an all right song, right? It's an all right song, but I'm like, that was the first song, first video. That's all I ever saw was Cry Tough. And I didn't think anything second about the band. Like, because, to this day, Cry Tough is a good song, but it's not a song, in my opinion, that gets you into the band. I'm just being honest. This channel is about being 100% honest here. So, and this is my first concert ever. Arena level, 13 years old, in my school. Metal. If you said you like metal, they go, oh, so you're one of those. You're a metalhead. And what they really meant was you're a dirtbag, right? The word metal meant you're garbage. Hair metal title is to a lot of people is meant garbage. That's why I named the channel Hair Metal Revolution, because I don't care what you call our genre. I never cared. Never cared. So, so I named this title. So if you hate my channel because it's called with the two words hair metal, good. I don't want you here. That's why I named the channel, because I don't want a certain amount of people. I want the people to come here. Is because they like the music and we have great conversation. Okay, so 13 years old. Oh yeah, I don't know if this ever happened to you. I was in 5th grade, right? I was the first boy in my school that ever had an earring, right? Because I got into the music, I got my earring, and I remember to this day, a teacher went up to me, went to my ear, took out the earring and said, "Boys don't wear this." It kind of woke me up into a world like people do judge you by the way you look. They did. I mean, just took the earring out, said, "Boys don't wear this," and she had no right to. Now I didn't realize what was going on because I was in 5th grade. But beyond that, okay. So we go to a place called Selden Arena. Now they play, I think, a Safe Mart Arena on the Fresno State Campus College, but this place was called Selden Arena. I remember going 13 years old with my other friends that were 13, right? And it was almost like there's an experience when you walk in. Because first of all tickets are general admission. Fuck the seating site. There's no seat. It was all general admission. So if you want to go to the stage, you got to crawl yourself in there. You can get to the stage. You don't have to worry about seats. It's all general admission. That'll never, ever, ever happen again on that level. You'll never see a general admission arena level show ever again. But in the 80s, that was common. So we get in there, right? And I didn't have no expectations about Poison. Because again, the only song I ever heard was Cry Tough. Lights go down. Poison came out with "Look What the Cat Dragged In." That song blew me the fuck away. I'm like, who the fuck? Where'd this fucking song come from? I mean, "Look What the Cat Dragged In." That song was just fantastic, and I can't remember. I think they went right into "I Want Action." Like, I want. Where'd that song come from? "Blame It on You." Where'd that song come from? Because all I heard was "Cry Tough," and these songs were nothing like it, in my opinion. Then I heard "Talk Dirty to Me." I mean, Poison was awesome. I mean, it was like, you understood why at the time in the 80s, opening acts were important because it was their way to show you, hey, we kick some ass, right? Because again, like living in Kermit, we didn't have a lot of albums, we didn't have a lot of money. Anything you see on new music was MTV, and we had to get a VHS tape. And Poison blew me off. I remember Bret Michaels doing push-ups. I mean, I thought I was like, holy shit. That was my first time ever at a concert on this level, right? Poison blew me away as an opening act. I'm like, wow, and again, unexpected. And I learned that's what the job of why it was important at the time and nowadays at an opening act. It's their opportunity to show you, listen to my group of songs, right? You might not like this song, but you might like this and this and this. And every song they sang, I thought was all better than "Cry Tough." I did. Now, I appreciate "Cry Tough" now, but at the time, I mean, come on. "I Want Action," "Talk Dirty to Me," "Blame It on You," #1 Bad Boy. I mean, it was just awesome. And then, of course, Rat came on. And, of course, when people say, oh, the opening act blew away the main bands, I know there's some cases like that, but that's usually rare because the big band has the whole stage, has the lasers, has everything. And then, of course, Rat dancing in the cover kicked so much ass. I mean, I still remember Bobby Blotzer playing drums. A 6-pack of Budweiser comes from the sky. And then, remember, you're 13 years old. You're seeing a 6-pack of beer. Hey, I'm not saying I'm 13, I drink some Kool-Aid, right? I drink Kool-Aid. It was the coolest freaking thing ever. And I think the best part was, it was like the first time in your life you felt like you were surrounded by your people, right? Your people. And what I mean is everybody was like you. Tour shirts, leather, whatever. And you really, truly felt like you were at home. You guys know that feeling? You guys know what I'm talking about? Like you found your happy place, right? Because next day, when you go back to school, because of course, next day we went back to school because it was on a school week. I only had one parent, I had a father. So, we didn't have no curfew, no nothing. Because my bigger brothers, they were there around the arena. And it was such a fucking life experience, and I kind of, and then of course, I always love Rat and Poison. Since then, I followed them. I saw them open up, say, opening up for David Lee Roth. Then I saw their solo tour would open up, say, then Flesh and Blood. And I also saw Native Tongue. I mean, and that's where you learn what's the importance of having an opening act. And it just sometimes those experiences, right? Listen, again, you guys all know me. I told you I don't get into the drama of Poison not touring this year or not. I don't get into that drama. Do I wish they would tour? Yes, because they were the first band I ever saw step on stage. I was there for Rat, of course, but they step on stage. So for me, seeing Poison just one more time, it kind of makes me feel like I'm going in full circle, right? Because when you hear music for the very first time, so Look What the Cat Dragged In song was the first song I ever heard on a stage like that. It stays with you, But hey, if they get it together, do a tour next year, I'm going to be just as happy. And I know it sounds sexier, 40th year anniversary, but you know what? If they come together, Poison set list, April 9, 1997, still in the arena. Want some, need some, let me go to the show, Bad Boy. Dirty, too bad to be good. I won't forget you, cry tough. Are you talking about 1987, right? 1987. So that was so it's not 1997, people. He's talking about 1987. Poison, Selden Arena. Yep. Because that was my birthday was May 8th. My birthday was May 8th. And so I was still 13. I was a month later to 4. And then it was just fantastic. The whole show was such a fantastic show. I miss it. Now, are you saying the first song was Want Some and Need Some? I could have sworn it was Look What the Cat Dragged In. But it was a fantastic show. I love it. So, and then, right, because music, now again, every area where you live, the town you live in, they kind of suck. Rat blew them away. Again, listen, first of all, every band music is up to you on what you like and what you don't like, right? Because there's a lot of people during the 80s, right? Like even in metal, people took sides, right? You had the Megadeth, Metallica side, and you had the Rat Mötley Crüe side. I loved it all. And where I lived in Kermit, Fresno, we all loved it all. But I keep hearing stories on, Metallica bashing them, Rat doesn't know why. You know what I mean? So you heard all these stories that these bands are kind of separated. I never seen that with my friends because we loved it all. But I guess you would say it's probably about what? What do you guys think? About 1988 when music kind of like crossed over, where some of the songs were getting played on top 40. I think Every Rose Has a Thorn made it to top 40. Pour Some Sugar on Me made it to the top 40. And it broke down so many barriers where this music started to get played on the radio. And this is the thing, I don't think 90 bands ever, maybe some, like I said, I don't listen to every single interview in the world, but a lot of the 90 bands owe their career to the 80s rock bands, because not even the 70s bands, nothing against Aerosmith, nothing against Kiss during the 70s, but the radio still wasn't playing their music, and it took time. I don't want to say ballads or this. Look, even Whitesnake, they were popular in the very, very early 70s and 80s because a lot of rockers did not like blues type of rock, which I love. And then it wasn't until they took the Whitesnake and rebuilt their songs, rebuilt their image, it got them huge. Right? Got them huge. So what I'm trying to get at, the 80s took a lot of shit. D. Snyder with the Congress, because Tipper Gore, was trying to put labels on albums, which is kind of funny that her husband later on put on a huge rock concert with Bon Jovi and others and stuff. And like, isn't that ironic? Al Gore putting on this huge rock concert to save electricity power or whatever. And just like 10 years ago, your wife was trying to ban all the music. Kind of funny. It's kind of shows you the hypocrites of how our government works, right? How the government works. Oh, Queen's right. Queen's right never gets the proper respect that they deserve, man. That lead singer of Queen's right, the voice is amazing. So the 80s really, truly broke the barrier down where the music started getting played. When Mötley Crüe came out, Dr. Feelgood, Kickstart My Heart, started to be playing on the radio. Dr. Feelgood song started to be played on the radio. It opened it up. So when the 90s band came in, MTV was already popular. The radios already started to cross over. So bands like Nirvana and them got to step right in. And we know what Gatekeepers did. They saw a new sound, and they kind of stepped on hair metal where they kind of like not produced them no more. A lot of them couldn't get albums made anymore. You know what I mean? So, but these bands, except like Alice in Chains. Alice in Chains is to me one of the coolest bands ever. Now, I live in Seattle now. I've been living in Seattle for the last 27, 28 years because I joined the Coast Guard. I joined the Coast Guard in 95 and I got stationed up in Seattle. Then, of course, later I met my wife. I stayed in Seattle. So I joined the military and I got stationed in Seattle and I stayed there, and so I know a lot about the grunge atmosphere because I was in Seattle. I was in Seattle during the hype of grunge, and I'll get to that point in a second. But let me step back. Alice in Chains, the reason they're so respected by 80s bands because they played with them. A lot of people don't remember that Alice in Chains opened for Poison before. And then Alice in Chains got a huge break when they opened for Van Halen. And of course, Sammy Hagar and band members to this day. God damn, I forgot the Alice in Chains guitar singer's name. I saw them both in the Cabo Club. When I went to Cabo Wabo one year. Smash Mouth singer still alive. They're all playing some Beatles songs. They're all jamming. It was like one of the funnest times in my life. Badfish. It's a band like Poison. It's so easy for people to make fun of them. It's so easy for people. But if people would just like go see Poison live. Sorry about that. I should have adjusted it. See Poison live. Contrail. Thank you. I forgot Contrail's name. Contrail and Sammy Hagar to this day are like best friends. Alice in Chains never badmouth bands. They just wanted to play. And that's what they're so respected. It was now don't get me wrong. Nirvana and Alice in Chains opened for Ozzy. Yes, they did. Nirvana and of course Pearl Jam talk shit. But just for the record, metal bands did too. Metallica talk a lot of shit too. Come on, fucking Lars Ulrich threw fucking darts at Winger, which I never really was a true Winger fan. But so let's not pretend 80s music did not bash each other too. Bash bands, they did too. Everybody kind of did that. So and all that. Now this is the thing, right? When grunge became this deal, this hatred. And I was living in Seattle in 95 because I was stationed here and all that. Everybody who I knew, the Seattle people, I remember everybody loved all music. It was just Seattle was just about the live scene. And to me, the shift, the battle between grunge versus rock came from the media. Newspaper writers, they're the ones who exploit this because the people of Seattle, their deal was live bands, right? They love live bands. Thank you. Kevin DuBrow killed his career because he talked shit about other bands. And that's the only reason why I bring it up, because everybody always says, Nirvana, Eddie Vedder, they just talk shit about everybody. 80s did too. So I refer to 80s music. And of course, Queensryche is from Seattle, but Queensryche was through the 80s. Heart went through the 70s and 80s. So people in Seattle love live music, and I think it was the media who created this big war. Why? Because it sold money. Couldn't give me a ticket to Seattle. It's Badfish. It really is a beautiful city. It people here. Remember, I lived. Of course, I was born in California. I lived 27 years in Washington, but I also lived in Maryland. So I was, like I said, military. Maryland, New Jersey, New York. So I live a lot of different places, and Seattle's one of the best places that I ever been to. And I know sometimes the city gets a hatred because of grunge, but if you knew the people here during that time, they loved all music. It was the media that created this war, and that's where I've learned how powerful the news media, the newspapers treat it, right? Because one of the most weirdest things, Queensryche is one of the most talented bands that came out of the 80s, and not even rock groups from Seattle. I never even hear them talk about being so influenced by Queensryche. And how can you not be influenced by Queensryche? I mean, Gary Tate, just his voice, it was just so powerful, and so, I love all music. I just love all music, and and I know sometimes I get a little emotional because I'm talking about the music. And there's so many great bands, and a lot of people know my channel know, like, the very first album I ever bought, my father gave me $5. I didn't have, we didn't have a record company, right? I live in an apartment complex that was connected to an auction. That's the kind of apartment complex that I grew up. I connected to an auction, and I wanted to find myself a brand new band, right, to call my own. And I remember looking at these cassettes. These could have been bootleg. I don't know, but when you're poor and stuff, it's just what it is. And I remember they had Cinderella Night songs. And I remember seeing the video shaking it. Oh, man, this band has like a Rat voice, AC/DC voice. And I remember buying the album. My first album I ever bought was Night Songs. First album I ever paid cash for. It looked real. Hopefully it wasn't a bootleg. Don't know to this day if it was. And the very first song, Night Songs, blew me away. It didn't have to be fast, that guitar riff, his voice singing. Once Around the Ride, fantastic song. Nothing for Nothing. I mean, that album blew me away, and I became a huge Cinderella fan. And I remember buying Long Cold Winter for the first time, hearing that banjo, Bad Sinister's Blues before Falling Apart from the Seams. I'm like, this album's perfect. And they mixed it in with it more blues, which I'm so excited to do a video with Hairband Basement, because I loved it when rock mixed music with blues. It was like not the next step, because Whitesnake was a blues rock band. Then they became a regular rock band to sell. And then, so, a lot of things, then Badlands came out, and that fucking debut bluesy album was so great. And when a lot of people crap on Poison Native Tongue, I thought it was fantastic. And Nice Song, it was heavier than the album cover advertised. Yeah. But you know what? I still have I have a Nice Songs tour shirt in another room. It is what it is. It's just the way people look. I mean, fucking look at disco. Look how stupid disco looked, right? It was just the way it was just looking. And I think nowadays it's a lot different, and I think younger people understanding, it's almost like people between 20 to 30 understands the music better than maybe that next level up, the people who were into the later 90s and 2000s. Because like one of the favorite things I love to do, and I'm going in 2 weeks to Emerald City Comic Con up in Seattle, Emerald City Comic Con. I love Comic Con because everybody dresses up, everybody has fun, and that's what it reminds me of going to an 80s concert. Everybody's dressing up, having fun, and I think with this new generation, dressing up is just fun, and they look at the 80s as dressing up as being fun. I think that's part of the reason why some of this music is still alive today, because the younger generation looks at dressing up as having fun, kind of going to comic. There's so many different kind of cons out there, but people dressing up, having fun. It's kind of almost like the 80s in a way, right? Everybody embraces lifestyles more. So I think a lot of that has to do with the overall, like some of the 80s songs are so popular again. And a lot of the 90s are kind of dead. They didn't, people who bash 80s don't realize that the 80s music had the longest run of stretch than any other music generation ever. More of a stretch of the 70s and 60s. Grunge only lasted 4 or 5 years. It died quickly. It only lasted half the time. But what happened is there was more media, easier to access. So it just looked like hair metal got bashed more, but it was just because the media got more and more and more. It was easier to hear. It's easier for people to hear your voices versus Love Bites. I don't know if you don't like the song Love Bites. If you don't like it, my God, you and I are almost the same, because out of that album, I've always told people this. I'm always honest. I never liked the song Love Bites. I never liked that song. I always hated that song. I thought their other slow song on Adrenalize, have you ever met? God, that long title song on Adrenalize, that ballad on. I thought that ballad on Adrenalize was way better than Love Bites. I can't think of the song, but I never liked that song, right? So I'll make this short, and I don't want to bore you guys. And again, I apologize, but like you saw, Flicking Box, the wife got sick, and life happens. I'll make sure when the show's over, I'll rechange the title, and then when I get with Birch, we'll just redo it. So at the end of the story, we all love this music, and one of the things, you should never be ashamed. Should never be ashamed. No, not Love and Affection. Not Love and Affection. No, Love and Affection. Hold on. I have YouTube Premium. Let me go to music. The song I'm talking about. Let me go here. I'll tell you 1 second. Adrenalize. Have you ever needed someone so bad? Have you ever needed someone so bad? I thought that ballad was way better than Love Bites, in my opinion. But ballads are another day. So what I'm going to say is stand up for your music. Never be ashamed of it. Never be ashamed. There was a lot of reasons of what kind of hurt the music, and I wanted to get deep with this with Birch today. And one day I want to get our good friend Hairband Basement on my channel, because I want to get deep with him on what different people's opinions. Because one of my opinions that I feel that hurt the genre is when there was just too many super groups. Too many super groups were coming out, right? If you look at the bands of the early 80s, 70s, like Van Halen, Def Leppard, Rat, these bands played so many clubs. Twisted Sister it's a great documentary on Amazon Prime on how many clubs they had to play. Quiet Riot, these clubs, everybody had to play clubs to earn their craft, to get it built, to create that wonderful music that we love, right? And then what happens in the late 80s, bands were just like, I'm going to quit this band. I'm going to get this guy from this band, this guy, this band, this band. And then we're going to the studio without ever playing together in clubs. Right? And I'm not taking what they've already learned with their bands they're in, but there's something to be said when bands play together and they're when they're building their craft. Nothing against Bad English, nothing against Damn Yankees. I'm not saying they don't have good songs. They all do. But it all becomes, okay, let's join together. Mr. Big, let's all join together. Even though they all have some good songs. But the element of playing together in clubs, building it up, was lost. In my honest opinion, I feel that was part of what hurt. Because now you're like, all right. Now here's another super group. Here's another band that broke up. Here's another super group, right? And I don't know if you call. I don't know. Can you call the band Arcade a super group? I've always thought about that, because Stephen Pearcy, I know Fred Corey was in it, but a lot of people don't realize that Fred Corey never played drums on the Night Songs album and Long Cold Winter album. It wasn't until Heartbreak Station that Fred Corey has any credit playing drums on. Are you high? No, I'm not high. I'm just giving you my honest opinion. And I'm not saying I am right about that. I'm just saying that there's something to be said for bands who built themselves up through clubs and stuff, and then you just put all these super groups together, and then here you are. Again. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess you could say that. I mean, Hagar was popular in the solo side, and but I mean, what can they do, right? David Lee Roth quit, and I and I love Van Halen with Sammy Hagar. I do, and I tell everybody to this day, who would you rather see live in their prime, with David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar? To me, it was always Sammy Hagar. His voice, Sammy Hagar's voice live, is unbelievable. He could hit every single note that there is. Again, I saw Van Halen with David Lee Roth. Great band. But there's something to be said about Sammy Hagar's voice. And Sammy Hagar could hit every single song, do every song. It was great. That's a good question. That's a good question, super groups. And maybe one day we'll get Hair Band Basement and we'll talk about do you call Arcade a super group? Do you call Van Halen, I mean it's when I think of a super group, I think like every musician came from another band and they got together and built like Bad English type of deal. You know what I mean? So it's hard to call Van Halen a super group. But guys, yeah, Sammy's voice is fucking amazing. And and don't get me wrong, I'll see any kind of Van Halen there is here. Of course, I mean, it's hard now, right? Without Eddie. That's another show we could do just on Eddie. So again, I'm not here bashing bands, people. There's a lot of reasons what killed the era. And I always say gatekeepers did it. The studios did it. They turned their backs on the music we love. They stopped giving these bands contracts. I think, didn't Damn Yankees, didn't they get paid like $1 million to not put out an album? Right? All these stories, people got cut from their thing. It was just horrible. But beyond that, guys, I love you all. I'll be back Tuesday with another live show. If you guys want to email me at Hair Metal Revolution, I could do a top 5 songs for you guys. I can do if you guys want to concentrate on a band, I could do that. You guys know my live shows. Even though we have a title, we go anywhere. We go anywhere. So beyond that, I really, truly appreciate every single one of you. This is what I love about this channel. We all talk, and we don't all have to agree, because none of us has answers, right? If any one of us have the answers, I think we all be billionaires or something, right? We all be producers because we know what buttons to press. Because everybody has different tastes, and that's fine. That's great. We don't have to like the exact same bands. Hair Metal Basement, he's kind of like me, like a lot of people crap on Native Tongue, Poison, and I think it's a fantastic album. I did a whole video on how every single song kicks ass on Native Tongue on this channel. So beyond that, I'm going to end this channel, in this show today. I love you guys, and I can't wait to meet Hairband Basement on Tuesday. So I'll see you guys next time. Remember what I always say? We're taking the music back and giving it the respect that it deserves. Have fun watching my AI intro outro.
I will build a brighter future for everyone.